Welcome, friends. My name is Silas Ollegario, and I'm the host of Think Onward, a podcast about books, studies, productivity, and lifestyle. Now, after the intro. It is Wednesday again, and here we are. Here we are, May 12th. Yes, that's it. That's the day this episode is going on air. And it's a very happy day for me. I'm so glad. I waited until this morning to record this episode. And you're going to know why in a few minutes. But first of all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. Thank you so much for being hooked. I'm so glad you're hooked. I'm so glad you're listening to me. You're listening to this podcast every single week. And it just makes me really, really glad you made it. And because you made it, I do have a special thing to talk about today. And I was kind of waiting to talk about this. But for me, this is the perfect day, and you'll understand why. In case you don't know yet, I am a pre-med student. I am on my path of becoming a physician in Canada. And I say on my path because it's not like it works in Brazil or in the way it works in so many different countries like England, that you, after high school, would just go straight to medical school. And it's a 6 year program. It's not in Canada, in the United States, and a few other countries. It just doesn't work like that. And I want to explain how things are, but I also want to talk about the entire process of getting into the university, especially as an international student, because today is my case. And the reason I'm so excited, I'm so happy to talk about this topic today is because I just received this. It was 1 a.m. in the morning. I just got the email from the University of Calgary that I got accepted. And after a long time waiting, things are happening. But I want to go back into steps, and I'm going to explain everything. But again, so let me just talk how the process is. After high school, in Canada, I'm going to be very specific to Canada, okay? Although I know it works like that in the United States, but I'm going to be specific to Canada because that's the process I've been through. After you finish high school, you have this thing of going to university because depending on the profession you want to achieve, it's just not just important, but it's the only way you can achieve some professions is by going to university. And after high school, you have to apply. And then, okay, I'm going to talk about this process of application. But then you go to university, and that's it. Then you graduate, and you are a professional in whatever field that you are. But for medicine, things are a little bit different. Because to get into medical school, you need to have some sort of degree before. Which means that after high school, you don't go straight into medical school. After high school, you need some kind of degree in whichever area you want. So if you want to study music, if you want to study literature, some kind of art, or if you want to go into the biological sciences, whatever it is, you have to do it before medical school. Why? Because medical school in Canada, it's almost like a graduate school in some countries. So that's the best way to give the definition for it. And so that's why they create this thing. It's called a pre-med. So it's when you are doing some other kind of stuff, other kind of study, and you're on the path of becoming a physician, but this path is official. Which means that you know the requirements you have to achieve to be accepted later in the future in the medical school. Every university has its different requirements, but most of them have the same ones, which are biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, math, and English. So you need to have certain classes on this subject, and you need to have a very strong GPA so you can have a chance of getting to medical school. So that's why declaring you're a pre-med student is so important for the university, because they actually help you with the path of this. My wife and I, once we decided to move to Canada, it is a very big move, very big difference from Brazil. It's just completely different, not just in terms of temperature, because that's what normally people think about when they think about Brazil. They think about the beaches and think about carnival and the hot climate and stuff. And when they think about Canada, they think about cold and winter and snow 11 months of the year, and which is not exactly true, but it makes sense. So when we decided to move to Canada, we also decided for a city, very specific city. It's called Calgary in Alberta, in the province of Alberta. And because of that, I chose the universities. I chose to apply for the universities in Calgary. And the big universities in Calgary are University of Calgary and Mount Royal University, MRU, which I was already accepted for last year. The thing is that medical schools, they are not available in every single university. I know that's kind of obvious, but it's just to make this clear. I'm not sure about the total amount of medical schools in Canada, but I think it's less than 20, maybe 19 different schools. I really should have looked this up, but no, it doesn't matter from my point. The thing is that in Calgary, Mount Royal University, they don't have medical school. In Calgary, the only medical school available is the University of Calgary. But it doesn't matter. As a pre-med student, you can pretty much study wherever you want, wherever you're accepted for. But the requirements and the prerequisites, they belong to the medical school place. So I have to study at Mount Royal University, thinking about University of Calgary and what are the requisites that I have to fulfill in order to become medical students there in the future. So with that being said, you must think, okay, Silas, why don't you already start your pre-med at University of Calgary? And that's a great question. The thing is that University of Calgary is one of the biggest universities in the country. So the number of applicants they have every term is gigantic. And so it's for international students specifically, it's very demanding. It's a little bit more difficult to get accepted to because, again, fewer spots for more people, which means it's very complicated. But it's possible, definitely possible, okay? Don't get me wrong. But the MRU, Mount Royal University, which is a great university, accepted me first. And I know I have to go through some kind of adaptation, but it ain't. Anyway, it happens and it's normal. Okay, it's not the end of the world. That's actually very normal in the United States by comparison. The place you go for pre-med is normally not the place you go for medical school. But if it is, it certainly is a lot helpful. And today, May 12th, actually was May 11th, 2021, I was accepted as a pre-med at the University of Calgary. me being already accepted at MRU, now I was also accepted at the University of Calgary, and I'm just so thrilled, so happy, and it's great. But I'm gonna try not to let my happiness get in the way of the thing that I want to talk about today, because I want to explain to you who are listening how you actually go into Canada, into a university in Canada. And I separated. I tried to do the least amount of steps, but I separated into 10 different steps on how you can get to study in Canada. And so now that I said it, it's out of my chest. I officially said and it's recorded. I wanna I wanna talk about this entire process. Okay, so let's go. I think I'm even gonna no. I was going to put a song, but no, it's just gonna take out my focus. See, I'm so happy and so thrilled, so stoked that it's kind of difficult to concentrate. But anyway, here we go. Step one: English. Okay, that's very obvious, but for international students who are going to Canada, Canada obviously is an English speaking nation, and so you need to speak English to go into university there. The way this happens is that you have to go for the IELTS. IELTS is an international English level something. I don't remember exactly, but it's an English test, official one that declares that you are able to study in English. You are able to live in that country there. English is the language they speak, and so we did it. My wife and I, we both did. We made the did or made. I don't know. I think we have this test done. Yes, maybe we did. We did the IELTS last year. There are two kinds of IELTS: the academic one and the general training one. The general training we did it for the immigration process, but the academic is very specific if you want to study in a different country. If you want to study in Canada, so IELTS academic. We did it. It was we studied and got the grades because there's a minimum grade that you need, and every university decides on the average they are going to accept or not international students. Basically the better you go, the better you're off. The better you're off. So you need to study English. You need to know English and then you study for the test and then be approved. Have this high grade on the test so you can be accepted further on the university of your choice. Step two: high school or university transcripts. So let me change for my example very specifically again. I am from Brazil, studied in Brazil, high school in Brazil, university in Brazil. So I need to give all these transcripts that I finished high school, basically, is what they need. I need to give the documents that I finished high school and that my high school it is what they call high school also in Canada, that the things that I studied in Brazil are valid to study in Canada. So I need these transcripts. You have to, in order to do this, you need to get in touch with your university or your high school and get this, all the proof that you study there, all the documents. And these documents need to be separated into different envelopes because one of them needs to be translated. Why translated? Because again, if you study in a country that speaks Portuguese, like Brazil, everything, all the documents are written in Portuguese. So you need to translate these documents in order to send them to the university of your choice there in Canada. But this is all before you choose the university. This is just because you need the documents. You cannot apply for any kind of thing in Canada before you have the documents. It's just impossible. So I'm trying to put again in order. Okay, first English, that's basic. Now the transcripts and translated. So you're gonna have to pay for the translation because it needs to be an official translation. In Portuguese, they call tradução juramentada, which is the translation that is made not by just someone who speaks English, because that's kind of obvious, but by an office that has a seal of approval and it's international and it works like this. You have to pay for it, and it's kind of expensive. At least in Brazil it is. So after the translation thing, step number 3, choose the university. As I said, we chose the city of Calgary, so we chose to apply for the universities in Calgary. But again, big universities in Canada, having Calgary, Vancouver, Saskatoon, Regina, Winnipeg. Then in the state of Ontario, in the province of Ontario, you have more options because it's the most important and maybe the biggest province in Canada. So you have in Toronto, you have in Hamilton, uh, Queen's University. I don't remember if it's in Hamilton or it is in London, uh, Ottawa. So you have a lot of options. Waterloo, Kitchener, lots of universities there, just in Ontario. Um, then in Quebec, you have the in Quebec City, you have in Montreal. Quebec is very difficult, very different. The details because Quebec is officially a French-speaking um, province. So you have universities that teach in French, others that teach in both French and English. So you have to be very careful when you choose. Then the other universities, other cities in, like Halifax, St. John's, and etc. Okay. After you choose the university and choose the city, then you go to step number 4, which is the application. In the province of Alberta, again, Calgary is in the province of Alberta. In the province of Alberta, there's a official website for application inside. Then you can apply for all the universities that are there in the province. So it's Apply Alberta. Very, very easy to remember. There you go. You put all those information, all the English, the high school transcripts, all these documents. You upload there. It's an official website of the government of Alberta. And you apply to the university of your choice or to all the universities that you're choosing for there. Once you apply, before they even read your application, you have to pay a small fee of $100. Some universities are $125, but most of them are just $100. You pay and then you wait. After this application, you wait. I put waiting as the step number 5. During this waiting process, you're still waiting for them to check your application, and they might need some additional information because maybe something's not clear. Maybe they didn't get what the translation was saying, because different countries have different kinds of systems for high school and for grading. It happened to me last week. I had to. They sent me an email from the University of Calgary because the grading system in my school was very similar to the grading system in Canada, which is weird because I studied in Brazil. But for some reason, they thought it was very similar to Canada, so they needed some kind of clarification, and I gave it to them. So this 5th step is waiting and maybe additional information. And then now we can get to step number 6. Step number 6 is admission acceptance. It's the thrilling day when you open your email and you see the email from the university saying that, congratulations, dear Silas, you were accepted as a student of the program of your choice, blah, 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 blah. And it's so great. That's what happened. That's what happened today in the morning when I woke up and I saw the email from 1 in the morning from the University of Calgary. Was the admission acceptance. And they say that, oh, you are accepted. We're going to be glad you chose to study here at the University of Calgary. Then you should, in my case now specifically, you go to the website, accept officially the offering, and then it opens another tab on your computer with a letter of acceptance. I'm going to repeat, letter of acceptance. This is very important. This might be one of the most important things in this entire process. And you're going to understand why in the next few steps. Step number 7, pay admission fee. After you were accepted and you got it, okay, I accept this invitation and thank you so much for accepting me. Now I have to pay for the admission fee. It's a non-refundable fee. In the case of University of Calgary, it's $500. Okay, every time Canadian. Okay, it's Canadian because it's Canada. So you have to pay for this $500 fee. There's a deadline. In my case, the deadline is June 10th, 2021. So I have almost a month to pay this $500 fee. Is it a admission fee? Uh, Nothing happens with this money other than you declaring that you want to study there. Step number 8, decide or not for the housing. Most of people who go to another country to study, they go by themselves. They go as international students. So the basically, as I've noticed, Mount Royal University and also the University of Calgary, they already have the housing prepared for every single international student. I think basically they say that every first year has guaranteed their place in campus. So you have to decide if you want to live in campus or not. Live in campus, live on campus, live on campus. I think is the best. It's the better. What's the name? Anyway, doesn't matter. But live in campus. So you have to decide to live in campus or not. You also, if you do, you have to pay a fee because you. Then this part I don't know, but the fee is also like $200-$300 just to say, you know what, keep my spot. I'm gonna be living on campus. And again, also has a deadline for this decision. So if you decide not to live in campus or on campus, doesn't matter, on campus, you have to decide, okay, I'm going to live outside. So this is another process that has nothing to do with the university. But then comes step number 9. Step number 9 is apply for the study permit. This is now where step number 6, the letter of acceptance, is helpful. It's not just helpful, where step 6 is the only way you can get to achieve this study permit is through the letter of acceptance. Because now everything is with the Canadian government. Now it's not with the university. The university did what they had to do. They accepted you. You paid for it. They gave you the letter of acceptance, which means not formally that they are guaranteeing, look, Silas wants this visa because he's coming to study with us. So please give him the visa. Give him the visa. But again, the decision of giving you the visa belongs to the government. And you might think it's easy and it's an easy process and it's simple, but it's not very simple. No, maybe it is simple, but it's not easy. Let me explain. The process is simple. You have to apply. You go to the website of the government and apply for the study permit, and you attach this letter of acceptance. But you also need a cover letter. You also need to explain why you're going to Canada, why you're leaving your country to study in Canada. Although they like international students and they actually need it, the government needs, the Canadian government needs students in international students because we pay a fortune for these universities and we spend a lot of money with housing and groceries and just in the country. We bring a lot of money to the country and that's why they need us. But you still have to prove, why aren't you studying this in Brazil? Why aren't you studying this in France? Why are you moving to Canada just to study this? And you have to be convincing. You need a compelling story because they need to accept you. And now the government needs to accept. And just, why are they bothering me with this? Because the university is accepting me already and I'm going to pay. And it's not enough. You need to be accepted, you need to write this cover letter, and you need to have the money for at least 1 year of study. You need to prove that you have the money, or that you have a sponsor, someone who's going to pay for it. And it's a lot of money. Okay, international students, they usually pay almost 5 times more than a Canadian student does. So it's a lot of money. 1 year of study for me is going to cost around $22,000. As for a Canadian student, or maybe even a permanent resident, it's going to cost $4,000 or $5,000. So this is just crazy, but it's the way it works. Being an international student in any country is extremely expensive. So that's why you don't want to miss the opportunity of being accepted. But you also want to be careful with, okay, do I really want this? Do I really have the means to do this, to achieve this? And why am I going there? You need to be convinced for the reasons you're going there, so you can put it on your cover letter and then being accepted. Once you are accepted, because everything's going to happen for you, then comes step 10. Step 10 is once everything is done, now it's just moving. Even if you chose a housing in campus or on campus, if you're moving to an outside apartment or moving with your friends or your family, or if you know someone, it doesn't matter. Now the next step is just moving, and it's starting this process of whatever it is that you chose to study, and that you chose as a student. And in my case, for Rebecca and I, Rebecca is my wife, okay, in case you don't know. For Rebecca and I, this is a reason, this is an answer for a prayer. We've been praying for this for a long time. We've been praying to move to Canada already. Everything, it's funny because for the past 5 years, all of our dreams have been related to Canada and related specifically to study in Canada, related specifically to have a life as a professional in Canada. And all of these things are going to be on my cover letter. I'm going to explain that's the reason I want to go there. That's the reason I don't study in Brazil. That's the reason I save money to study in Canada. I want to be a professional like this, and Canada will provide me with this. And it's so crazy how things happen. I'm going to be very honest right now. 3 days ago, we were very sad about some things, about the fact that things were continue being complicated, with the whole COVID thing, that the frontiers closed and the deadlines very tight, and everything we have to do for this process of getting the documents, and the other part of this process, which is the details of immigration, like you have to go to the medical thing, doctor's appointment, specifically doctor's appointment, and then biometrics, and then this, and then that. All these things are so overwhelming that we were kind of, oh my God, maybe we shouldn't go. Maybe we should stay in Brazil. We even started thinking like this, but the reality is that when you're waiting and when you have hope, things happen. It's not because we believe as Christians, we believe that it's not because we deserve something. It's not because we oh my God has any kind of obligation of doing something for us, because He doesn't. That's not how I feel. But it's because He loves us, and because He loves us, I have this thing that He's going to open the doors for us. And that's what He's doing. That's how I feel He's doing, because all these things because I was already accepted at MRU, which is a little bit more expensive than University of Calgary. And a little bit more in dollars means a lot more expensive in reals, which is the name of the currency in Brazil. So all these things of being, and now have another thing to worry about, which is the deadline for this study permit, and it's going to be available in time so we can go to Canada, because once we get in Canada, we need 14 days of quarantine before the class starts. But as I'm noticing today, these are the things that we don't need to worry about. I mean, being worried has not helped in any sort of way. What helps, as I've been understanding more and more, what helps is the fact that you trust. It's the fact that you believe. It's the fact that you do what you have to do what you gotta do, and continue to prepare for the moment. When the moment comes, you'll be ready. And that's how I feel today. That's how I feel. I've been preparing myself, and now that because I was just accepted because I applied. Even though I didn't have the total amount of money, the time I did, I applied anyway. So because I was thinking, you know what? When it comes the time that I need the money, I will have the money. And I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad uh, this thing happened. And anyway, and now I can share with you. And so thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much if you appreciate this idea and if you appreciate the fact that I'm going through this process. I know I'm being kind of selfish, but I use this podcast and my YouTube channel. Also, if you want to check my YouTube channel, Silas Ollegario, okay, on YouTube, and I post videos every week, and I also post podcast, the episodes of the podcast there. But every week, I'm so happy, I'm so excited, and sometimes I'm very down, but I'm so glad I have someone and some kind of way to share this with people. Maybe people I have never met, maybe people I'm never gonna meet, and that's just great. So thank you so much for listening to here. I hope you have a great week. I hope something great happens today now that you're listening to this. And that's it. See you next week. Have a good one.